Welcome, Governor Carney, Secretary of Transportation Cohen, and all honored guests. On behalf of AAA and our 140,000 members in Delaware, I would like to thank you all for stepping out on this day after Labor Day to our headquarters and recognize some of our special guests here today and traffic safety advocates who are with us. From our AAA leadership team, we have Lance Saboni in the back, who's our Executive Vice President of Automotive Services and Connected Car. Susan Mead Beechel, Executive Director of our AAA Foundation for Safety and Education. I know she's here somewhere. From our state delegation, we have Representative Ed Osinski. Thank you for coming. And Ruth Briggs King. Thank you for being here. City Council members Yolanda McCoy and Ciro Adams. Thank you. And from DelDOT, we have Jean Donaldson, Director of our Transportation Management Center. Jean. Rob McCleary, Chief Engineer. Nicole Majeski, Deputy Secretary. Scott Vian, the Director of our Division Motor Vehicles. John Sisson, the Director of the Delaware Transit Corporation. John. Dr. Jerome Lewis, University of Delaware. I saw you. Tigis Zaghi, the Executive Director of WILMAPCO. Jana Simpler, Executive Director of our Office of Highway Safety. Jana. And also from our AAA leadership, I missed a couple people. Terry Rubritz, who is our Senior Vice President of Marketing. I saw him a little bit earlier. And Nick Eppinger, our Executive Vice President of Insurance. Thank you for stepping out this morning. We are excited to honor the moment of autonomous vehicles. It's really an evolution of transportation. And before we talk about that for a moment, I also wanted to just say that we are helping our sister club in Texas, and many of our associates in this building have donated time and energy and money to reach out to some of those who were painfully affected and are struggling with the remnants of Hurricane Harvey. We have sent some emergency roadside vehicles to Texas to help, because that's what we do. We help stranded motorists and we help recover vehicles. And you may not have thought of about that, but that is the part and parcel. That is the heart of AAA, and we will continue to find ways to help those. We've been serving the driving public, as you may or may not realize, for more than 100 years, advocating for safe driving and the laws that protect motorists and the policies around those laws. And not only for motorists, but everyone with whom motorists share the road. And today we're in advocacy mode as much as ever, because there are quite a number of new challenges out there on the road. The issue of connected and automated vehicles dominates our discussion about the future of mobility. And our polls show that drivers, consumers, really have very mixed sentiments about autonomous vehicles. They like them, but they fear them. In fact, more than half think they're going to be less safe, and more than half also want autonomous vehicles. Yet 78% would be afraid to ride in a self-driving vehicle. Yet they all acknowledge, more than half, that it's inevitable, that autonomous vehicle technology and autonomous vehicles are going to come our way. And in those rapid advancements, we have taken on quite an undertaking for this fall that we want to make sure you all know about and are certainly invited to attend. On Tuesday, October 17th, AAA is sponsoring a TED Talk at TEDx Wilmington Salon that is called Who's in the Driver's Seat? The Transformation of Transportation. We are bringing in 12 very specially selected speakers that will speak on a broad range of topics. We have someone from Israel, we have others from across the United States, and many entrepreneurs in the Mid-Atlantic region. We also have some policymakers from government and some private sector, of course, individuals. The slate of speakers is going to be announced the middle of next week. We're in the process of confirming all those speakers this week. So we look forward to that news release coming out. But I wanted to say, we need to start a conversation about where we're going in the world of transportation and make sure that everyone is ready for it. So that's what we are meant to do with our TED Talk, is to have it be thought-provoking and a conversation starter for all of those, and many of those who are gathered here today, who have a role in the future of transportation. So without further ado, I would like to turn the podium over to our boss here at this building, our Chief Executive Officer, Bernie Koch.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us the day after Labor Day, one of the most busiest traffic activities of everything. And this topic is very dear to our heart. We've been involved in it for a substantial amount of time, and was in San Francisco this weekend, and read an article that if you kind of put it all relatively in sight, very clearly that the train has left the station when it comes to autonomous vehicles. We all understand how valuable Uber is right now with some massive billion-dollar valuation. But as you talk to the people out there, they come across with one particular item. So their most costly proposition is the actual driver itself. So they're working with OEMs today and have test vehicles in place that basically will take the cost of the human labor out of the equation. So if you're putting that much amount of money attached to it, that a car will simply, an individual will get a car, it'll ramp up, it'll come to you, open by itself, get in and have it drive you somewhere, and they will in fact increase their valuation. You have that amount of money working with OEMs and technologists to get to that proposition from a commercial viability. You know that the train has left the station when it comes to autonomous vehicles. That's why this topic is extremely, extremely important. A lot of different views. Clearly there's an element of safety to it. Obviously our heritage in AAA and this wonderful building being in Wilmington, Delaware, is a testament to the fact that consumer safety and making sure our roads are safe for whatever kind of traffic aspects are in place is clearly our goal. So we're very encouraged the state of Delaware is taking this very substantial forward step. Very much one that we welcome the opportunity to have the dialogue. The TED Talk will also bring in national and international elements. So having the state of Delaware being at that forefront is a very, very great testament to the legislators that are folks here. In fact, our membership base is supportive of this proposition. So we welcome the opportunity to support this very, very important element. So with that, we'll ask Governor Carney to come up and give a few words. But again, thank you everyone for being here today.
Thank you very much, Bernie and Kathy, for those introductions. Thank you for the opportunity to be here on the riverfront at AAA Mid-Atlantic. Thank you for your many years here as an anchor on our riverfront. If you think about what this used to look like here, it's just the transformation that's taken place over the last 20 years is really extraordinary. I was here about a week or two ago with a number of members of my staff after work, one of the restaurants around the corner here, and was just amazed of the hundreds of cars that were here. There was a Blue Rocks game happening at the time. The restaurant parking lots were full. And to think just a few years ago that this was a wasteland. When I was a kid, I used to think all the time as I talked to my grandparents about how much my transformation in the way we did all kinds of things, from communications to transportations to schools to communities, than they did when my grandparents were kids growing up. And I thought to myself that in my lifetime I would never see that same level of transformation. Well, clearly that's not been the case when you think about just the years from computers and microprocessors and what those technologies have enabled in the rest of our economy. And self-driving autonomous vehicles has to be right up there at the top. It is inevitable, Bernie, it is coming. Our Secretary of Transportation, Jen Cohen, has been on me since the day I was sworn in that we needed to get ahead of the curve a little bit, and it's great that she has her whole team here today represented with tremendous implications of autonomous vehicles, what it would mean for John Sisson, who is the head of our transportation unit here in the city and across our state, to Gene in the transportation management system, all the various implications for DelDOT, for AAA. Obviously, your advocacy role for highway safety is tremendously important, and we appreciate it, particularly your involvement in our conversation around marijuana legalization in our state and your cautionary tale there. Special thanks to legislative leaders, particularly Ruth Briggs King, has come all the way up, got her passport stamped when she came into Newcastle County across the big ditch from Georgetown this morning. And Ed Osinski, for your interest. I know you were interested in running legislation in this past session. We thought a better way to do it, a more comprehensive way to do it, was through this task force, which will be formed with the executive order that I'm about to sign, and we appreciate your leadership in the General Assembly because it will no doubt require leadership. This is going to be interesting. Bernie talked about the train leaving the station. I leaned over to Jen and I said, yeah, without an engineer at the moment. So this effort will be our effort to try to put an engineer, if you will, in that vehicle so that we as a state are ready for what's coming, so that we can anticipate needs and from a highway safety point of view and identify those challenges so that we can maybe get ahead of the curve from an economic point of view and capitalize on that here in our own state. I mean, one of the great things about our state is we're small and we can get all the people that we need to get on a committee like this, a task force, to kind of sort out the issues as it relates to our state. One of the things that gives me pause is we know that there are frankly millions of people whose job it is to drive a vehicle today. And the implications for those jobs in the future could be really astounding, although we need to look at it certainly as an opportunity. So I'm the only person who's more excited, I think, to be here than I am this morning is our Secretary of Transportation. She is so ready for this effort. She is so ready to lead her Department of Transportation and its fine staff and her fine team there to do the evaluation and the work that's necessary so that we can be a leader here in the state of Delaware. It's a great privilege for me now to introduce and to bring to the podium Secretary Jen Cohen.
For the record, he just told me if I was that excited, I can dance on the table. So stay tuned for after the presentation for that. I am super excited to be here. So are you guys comfortable? Because I can talk about this all afternoon and all, into the evening. But I want to put things in perspective, and I want to thank AAA for your leadership in this effort as well. But I was having this conversation with my daughter, who'll be 24 this month, and I was like, okay, when I was your age, my parents constantly hammered into me, do not get into cars with strangers, do not get into cars with strangers, right? And now I'm like, there's an app for that. You just search the internet for a stranger to give you a ride. I mean, we couldn't even fathom a transportation network company, even 5-10 years ago. So I kind of like to think that this is similar to that. While there's a lot of unknowns, Delaware, like the governor said, we're a very small state. This is a tremendous opportunity for us. And if you look at the makeup of the task force, it's a little bit different. We have our land use agencies participating with us because there is a direct connection to land use planning and transportation infrastructure. If we are going to be leading this effort in the country, then we need to make sure that our land use and our infrastructure is also kept up in pace with that. The other thing that I'm super excited about, and I'm happy to see Gene Donaldson here, is, Gene, are we ready for this? One thing that you guys may not know is that we've been actually working towards this for quite a while now. If you look at our Del.app app and you wonder, hey, how do you time, how do you know the traffic information, how do you track that stuff? We already have Bluetooth readers in most of our roadways. Ooh, thank you. So we are really primed for this. And and it's not just about transportation. I was reading a study by the Gartner Group, and they indicated that autonomous vehicles and technology will be saturated in the market in 2025. That might as well be tomorrow, right? 2025? So it's very important that we take a leadership role in this. We're really excited to get started. And it's not, and I'm looking at you, Representative. Wouldn't it be awesome if you could have just taken a driverless car? Could you think how much work you could have gotten done? And how we could serve your jurisdiction, because there's a lot of transportation needs, whether it be, for our Hispanic population, with our seniors. This is going to elevate mobility to a whole new level. So I'm extremely, if you can't already tell, I'm extremely excited about this and looking forward to moving forward. But, I really want you to keep that in your mind, that whole transportation. Raise your hand if you've taken an Uber or a Lyft or some type of Zip car. Yeah. Would you fathom that 5, 10 years ago? No? So I'm hoping in 5 to 10 years, we're standing here and we all would have taken either an autonomous bus, John, I'm looking at you, or an autonomous vehicle, or even an autonomous train. So super excited, Governor, super, super, super excited. Thank you for your patience with me nagging. Literally, it's been since he, said I could stick around, and it was like, can we do this? How about now? How about now? I think I just exhausted him into compliance. But again, it's not just about the autonomous vehicles and the technology themselves. We are a small state. We could use this. I mean, our small state is a benefit to us because we can not only just attract the transportation autonomous vehicle manufacturers, but we could also target, and that's what I'm hoping we can do through this task force, the companies, the technology companies that provide the infrastructure, provide the technology for vehicle-to-vehicle exchanges and vehicle-to-infrastructure exchanges. So there's a tremendous amount of opportunity here, and and my whole team is here. So thank you guys for being patient with me as well. But looking forward to moving this forward, and I think I'm turning it back over to you, Governor. Woo!
Thank you very much, Secretary Cohen. And again, I want to thank AAA for what you do here in our state and across the Mid-Atlantic region and across the country for that matter, promoting highway safety. Again, to the DelDOT team that are going to do a lot of the work here, all the work that you do on transportation. You're ready to go, Gene. You're ready to go, John. I hear that from the top. Special thanks again to our two legislators, Representative Osinski and Briggs King, who are here today, and your leadership in the General Assembly. Just to make a couple points, I'm not going to read the whole executive order, but just to make a couple of points before I sign it. It says this is for the establishment of the Advisory Council on Connected and Autonomous Vehicles. And it says, whereas connected and autonomous vehicles are becoming more prevalent and have the potential to radically transform how the world works, plays, and live, and whereas vehicle-to-vehicle and vehicle-to-infrastructure technologies are being developed by every automotive manufacturer, and whereas the economic impact of this mobility opportunity could mean a better quality of life for Delawareans and spur business development. And there are several more whereas clauses, and then a list of members of the committee, and Secretary Cohen mentioned some of those. Secretary of Delaware Safety and Homeland Security, the Attorney General, our CIO, the Delaware Division of Motor Vehicles, of course, representatives of the House and the Senate, Chairperson of Delaware Automobile and Truck Dealers Association, AAA, Insurance Commissioner, and on and on and on. And that finally, the Advisory Council is tasked with developing recommendations for innovative tools and strategies that can be used to prepare Delaware's transportation network for connected and autonomous vehicles. The Advisory Council shall make recommendations regarding at least the following subject areas: promoting economic development, technology, security and privacy, transportation network, infrastructure, Gene, and impacts on public and highway safety. Our friends at AAA. The Advisory Council shall provide a report of its activities and any recommendations within a year of today, the signing on today. And with that, I'll sign this